struck me funny. Said you have no friends if you haven't got money.
Although disabled, Roosevelt conducted a vigorous campaign against President Hoover. His message was clear. He'd offer the Americans a new deal and get the unemployed back to work. He didn't spell out plans to end the Depression, nor did the voters greatly care for details. What they wanted and got was hope and confidence. It was his wife, Eleanor, in the coming years of vital inspiration, who encouraged him back into politics. She too had to make a lot of public appearances, and this basically shy woman was to become extremely popular.
Joe Cutter is tied to a chair in his room. You'd better cut him loose.
Who is this?
This is Eleanor Roosevelt.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. In their present form, these bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe.
Harry Truman was, in the words of one of his biographers, a man of the people. Truman was the guy who might live next door to you.
Harry Truman came from very modest means. His father was a farmer. He didn't have the money to go to college. He's our only president in the 20th century to not have a college degree.
He was a member of the National Guard, and when World War I broke out, at age 33, he enlisted and became a captain and served in France.
After World War I, Harry Truman opened a men's clothing shop in Kansas City, Missouri, and married Bess Wallace.
There's a lot more to Harry Truman than just having been a haberdasher. Great student of history.
He'd been a really heroic captain in World War I, and he'd grown up in the Pendergrast political culture of Missouri, which was a real petri dish for learning how to be a good politician.
In 1934, Harry Truman was elected to the U.S. Senate, where he served until 1945 when he was elected vice president.
And not too long after he's in office, FDR dies. Suddenly, as he said, talking to the press, "Boys," he said, "the weight of all the planets in the world have just fallen on me." He made some big decisions right away, notably that we're going to attack Japan with the first explosion of an atomic weapon.
In 1945, President Truman ordered the dropping of 2 atomic bombs on Japan. Soon after the end of World War II, the Cold War with the Soviet Union began.
Truman knew the threat of the rise of communism out of Moscow, but also understood the best way of dealing with that is to rebuild Europe. Rebuild it economically, rebuild it culturally, rebuild it politically, and make it part of the alliance.
The Marshall Plan provided economic aid to the countries of Western Europe.
During Truman's first term as president, his approval ratings plummeted when the United States became involved in the Korean War.
People were exhausted by war and the sacrifices that had been made, and he faced the prospect of running against the greatest American hero of World War II, Dwight Eisenhower, who was kind of everybody's grandfather and everybody's hero. So he stepped down and stepped out of the way.
Truman retired as President of the United States in January 1953.
After he left office, he basically went back to Independence, Missouri, and led a very quiet life.
Truman died the day after Christmas in 1972. He lived a long life. He was 88 years old.